107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
That's going to be hard to get rid of. They've tried. But no, it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000...
Kamala Harris's new book has just been released, and critics are already dissecting her explanations for why her campaign failed. Bill Maher quickly jumped in with his trademark bluntness, arguing that 107 days was more than enough time for her to prove herself. But the real sting came when he highlighted glaring contradictions in her own narrative, exposing flaws that made her story even harder to defend.
People just getting away with it, cashless bail, whatever. I want to see law and order, and I think that would be helpful.
Well, apropos to that, I'll bring up one last subject. Somebody didn't write this, but I want to say it because it's interesting. Some new polling came out, and this is really, I'm speaking to the Democrats especially here, because Trump's numbers are down. They're down with Latinos, they're down with blacks, they're down 15 points with whites. And when whites say, you're not hip anymore, ooh. And yet, in the other poll, on issues, Trump still winning. So this is your big opportunity, Democrats. He's down in the numbers, and you still can't.
Maher opened by pointing to the latest polls, noting that while Trump may be losing ground with some voters, he continues to dominate on the issues that matter most, like the economy, the border, and foreign conflicts. He argued this should be the Democrats' moment to regroup and push for tangible wins. But instead they're caught up in performative woke politics and cultural battles that most Americans don't even care about. And just when it seemed like his critique was finished, Maher delivered a bombshell that could leave the entire...
When they ask who has a better plan, Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are fucking stupid. 2 points on respect for democracy. Democrats win on healthcare, environment, women's rights, respect for democracy. But on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the...
Here's the irony. Even on democracy itself, the very value, Democrats claim to champion their losing ground, with some polls showing Republicans closing the gap or even overtaking them as the party seen to better represent democratic principles. That's more than a warning sign. It's a blaring siren, signaling that Democrats are drifting from their core identity. Rather than earning trust through steady principles, they've become mired in identity politics, virtue signaling, and internal bickering, leaving voters unconvinced they're the natural guardians of democracy. If this trajectory holds, the party isn't just flirting with defeats, facing the possibility of political...
The Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't.
I'd like to...
I'll say a lot of lies on this show, but I won't take that. I will not accept that.
I thought you might ask me about it. That's why I had to read it. But the point is, it's like, as you probably know, it's like a diary of what happened. But I was looking for, okay, and what's the plan for the future? There wasn't any, and she's just indicative of the party.
Part of the problem is the Democrats' lack of strategy. The DNC's entire playbook revolves around attacking Trump even over trivial matters while offering no vision, no plan, and no unifying message that explains why voters should trust them with power. That emptiness was on full display in Harris's book, which, after a failed election, should have provided reflection and a blueprint for growth, but instead recycled the same talking points and excuses. It's a symptom of a party trapped in denial, fueled by outrage, yet unable to present anything concrete about the future.
She's rewriting history in the book, too. She's now against men and women's sports. Like, come on. Like, they tried to dismantle Title IX against women when she was vice president.
Right. I mean, that's just one of many examples.
She could have had 701 days and would have still lost that race.
But you're right. The
whole
data
shit.
says it's costs of living, it's inflation, it's immigration, illegal immigration, all those things, everything.
Harris is attempting to distance herself from the woke politics that contributed to her downfall. And on the surface, that may look like progress. But rather than acknowledging past mistakes, she's rewriting history now, claiming to oppose men competing in women's sports. Despite previously supporting it while in office, that kind of revisionism convinces no one. If she genuinely wants to rebuild credibility, she needs to admit she was wrong and make a clean break from the radical wing. Without that honesty, her so-called rebrand will look less like growth and more like pure political.
By the way,
Law and order crime.
107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run. They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
Maher ripped into Harris's book, saying it reads more like a catalog of excuses than genuine reflection. Central to her defense is the infamous 107 days, the short campaign window she blames for her downfall, but Maher dismissed that outright. Voters didn't turn away because of limited time. They turned away because they saw her up close and weren't convinced. The problem wasn't the calendar, it was trust, likability, and authenticity. And Harris simply lacked all three.
I've tried, but it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
What Harris needed was straightforward, present solutions to real problems, outline a clear vision, and distinguish herself from Biden to prove independence and leadership. Instead, she offered no answers, no roadmap, and no bold agenda. Leave the expectation that voters would grant her power without a plan. That absence of clarity revealed her deepest weakness. No clear message, no defined identity, and no credible solutions. And without those, no campaign strategy could have saved her.
An elected vice president, you're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay, it's hard to hear.
No, that's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because
it is
he
what
is
she
gay.
said.
My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for President of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for President of the United States, and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real...
Then came Harris's most glaring untruth. In her book, she explicitly wrote that she didn't choose Pete Buttigieg as her running mate because he was gay. Yet when Rachel Maddow confronted her, she backtracked, insisting she never said or wrote it. That kind of contradiction is political quicksand if she can't stand by her own words. How can voters trust her on policy or leadership? Maher's critique hit hard. Her problem isn't just flawed strategy. It's a bleeding credibility gap that no campaign maneuver can isolate.
Said about New York mayoral hopeful and radical hard leftist Zoran Mamdani.
What do you think of him and his candidacy, and what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure.
Look, if you thought Kamala had acquired some wisdom, some class and perspective in the months since she was resoundingly beaten by President Trump, well, you'd be disappointed. All she revealed overnight is that she's a frightful bigot.
That credibility gap explains why she crashed in 2024. At the heart of her failure is a simple truth. Harris doesn't take strong stances. She rarely commits to principles or offers clear direction. Just look at her support for Zoran Mahoney in New York, based not on policy or vision, but simply because he's a Democrat. That's the problem. When the party rallies around loyalty instead of ideas, voters see through it. Harris embodies that weakness, and voters rejected it.
Decided for some reason now would be the time, instead of when she was actually running for president, to say all the ways in which she disagreed with Joe Biden, all the bad things she thought about the Biden team. Great. Okay. I'm here for it, sister. Go. I believe every word, by the way. So it's really been super fun to watch the circular firing squad amongst the Dems. Usually they're a little better about holding their discipline on that. It's usually the Republicans who do all the infighting. So I'm thrilled to see it, and I really can't wait until her next appearance. I can't wait to hear.
One remember when Harris ran for president and boasted she wouldn't change a thing Biden had done. Her entire platform was built on blind loyalty. Now, with Biden out of the picture, she's suddenly criticizing inflation, immigration failures, and foreign policy blunders, issues she ignored while in power. Instead of acting when it mattered, she played it safe, and now it's too little, too late. Her book and interviews only reinforce why she lost in 2024 and why her future is uncertain. A true comeback won't come from spin or party loyalty. It will require brutal honesty, concrete solutions, and the courage to abandon the failed strategies that sank her before.